Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it, Here's the Evidence That Love is All There Is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use images so you can see that love is really all there is. So let's begin. Right now, you're seeing an image in front of you, right? And the image seems to be or have differences. You see a car, you see money, you see a body, you see a mountain, you see a building. Do you see? All the things are seeming different images. Now, if you could look at those images through the lens of a very powerful quantum microscope, you will see just energy. Because the quantum microscope can look through that image and go beyond all of that, and all that there is energy. And actually, all that there is would be like the empty space, the field of our potentiality. But for now, because I think it's good for this particular example, all you see is energy. Now notice that no matter where you put the focus on any part of that image, all that you see is energy. Okay? Now, let's say that you're looking at that same image not through the lens of a quantum microscope or device, I don't know what you want to call it, but through a very powerful microscope that doesn't go as far, but then you could see, in this case, would be cells, you see? And no matter where you point that microscope, you're looking at cells. See? See, at this point it's easy to see that everything is the same in the end, because the foundation, or should I say the raw material, if you want to use that word, because it's non-material, but I don't know how else to say it. The raw material of anything is the same. With the quantum is energy, with the very high potent microscope is cells. So what happens is that when you look at that same image through our limited brain, we see all that image. Now, that image, seen as such, is just as if you were looking at energy, because it's just an image. What happens is that with the capacity that the brain has to sort of label and differentiate, now that image, which actually is just the raw energy, that image, it begins to seem fragmented. How do we fragment that image? By the labels, by the word. That image is just the whole energy field, but now all of a sudden that whole energy field is fragmented into a body, a car, money, a mountain, you see? But if you take those labels, all that there is one and the same. Now, this is fine up to this point, but there's one little hiccup. There's one little detail that is being overlooked, and is that I'm saying that you're looking at the image from the perspective of, let's say, a quantum microscope or device, and therefore you see energy. Or you're looking at the image through a particular microscope and you see cells. Or you're looking at the image from your perspective as an individual and you see objects. But where this is pointing to is that you are not looking at anything. You and everything that seems to be seen are one and the same. So it's not that you're looking at energy through the lens of a quantum microscope or device. Is that the energy and you are the same thing, or the same, I should say. It's not that you're looking at the image that seems to have difference, it's that you are a part of it. That is what allows you, well, not you, but there's no other way of saying it, to see that there's no difference between you and everything that seems to be perceived, because all that there is what is, you see. So that itself, when there is no separation, because in reality there is none, except because the perception makes it so, or makes it seem as is the case, that wholeness is what is referred to as love, you see. Now, in the world of appearances, where it seems as there's an image filled with differences, there's nothing wrong with that. Actually, the capacity of being able to discern and to label is very useful, you see, because we need that in order to function here. The problem comes when I believe that I'm separate from everything. Now, instead of looking at the images and labels them as such just for functional purposes, we somehow, believing that we're separate and thinking that those images somehow can complete us, we begin to look at the image, and instead of looking at a body, you see, let's say in this case the figure, the image on the screen, I superimpose to that image other attributes or other labels. For example, my, you see, like for example, this would be my girlfriend or my wife or my sister, and in your case you can change the image to the male version. This is not just money, it's my money. You look at a mountain, for example, and if the mountain happened to be in your property, you say this mountain is mine, you see. So all of a sudden, now I'm taking ownership of all of that, which supports the belief that I am a separate entity, and all of those things are separate from me, and some of them seems to be mine and others may not seem to be the case. So in the world of appearances, when you become conscious, or when there is a consciousness of what I am, yeah, we play the game. In the surface, this could be my girlfriend or my wife or my daughter, and that's fine. I'll play the game, but I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that that is not the labels, and that is not what the world seems that it is. If I happen to own a property, you know, because there's a paper that says so, and in that property there's that mountain, I can say, yeah, that mountain is part of my property, but there's a recognition that that mountain is not anything separate from me. It's just the way we use the language to express ourselves, for the sake of making sure that not everybody's going to move in your property, because, you know, there's a legal agreement supposedly there, unless you want people or allow people to move in there. It doesn't matter. All of a sudden, this is not my car, you see. Nothing is mine, everything is as it is. And that's how you can rest in beingness while you still function in the world like everybody else. But now you know beyond the shadow of a doubt that although differences may appear, it's all the same, because what is made out of, you know, is the same energy source, and you are that energy source. Now, in the world of appearances, the practicality of this is that if you want to really have the experience of what we're pointing to, it's not like you have to do anything special so that in the future you will eventually become one with everything. No, it's very simple. All you need to do is do not believe anything you think. Don't identify with any thoughts. You still can function as someone who seems to say to the world, or if somebody asks you, is that your daughter? Yeah, that's my daughter. But again, you know beyond that that's not the case. It's just what it is. So right now, if you don't identify with any thoughts, if you don't believe any thoughts, I'm not saying the thoughts will not be there, you just simply see them as such and don't believe any of them, then you're resting in that space in which, although you perceive images, you know beyond the shadow of a doubt that those images, as well as you, are part of the same energy field, also known as love. And when there's feelings and sensations, those feelings and sensations are also part of that energy field, which is what you are. See, when you don't begin to identify with the thought I individual, and don't identify consequently with the thought that's mine or whatever, it's not that I love that person, it's not that I love that thing. No, because then again we begin to believe that there's such a thing as as a separation, and the love, we begin to limit it to a seeming I that now claims that love something else, when in reality that is not necessarily love. It just basically could be a feeling or a sensation, and from that seeming love is where jealousy comes in, fear comes in, because I'm afraid of losing that which I claim that I love. But love is freedom, it's just beingness, and you are that beingness all the time, and you cannot negate that. Right now, if you don't identify with any thoughts, if you don't believe any of your thoughts, that's fine, they'll be there and they can be used for functional reasons. But when there's not a belief in any of the thoughts, especially the thought I individual, there's not attachment to a sense of identity, you're resting in beingness. In other words, you're resting in love, or I should say you are love, always. You can never not be love. In the same way, you can never not be the energy field that is the substance from which everything is made out of. That's the love that we're pointing to, and you are that, you see? And that has nothing to do with ownership of anything or claiming this is mine or whatever. No, it's just what is. And this is what these videos are pointing to notice that you simply are. And from that recognition, which is not personal, by the way, is simply what is, then you notice that there's a freedom, because there's a knowing that everything happens through this instrument. I am not the instrument that claims that do things. I am the energy field from which this instrument seems to arise. Consequently, I know that everything is done through me. You see? I'm not the doer of anything. Life happens through me. And when a thought comes, but that means that I can become a horrible person or something. These are thoughts. You see? I don't know how life is going to unfold through this instrument, even though they may be all different images of possibilities. I don't know. There's no speculation at all. All that there is what is. And that's it. And this is love. This is resting in love. This is the love we're pointing to. And the truth is, I've said this before, I'll say it again, if you know that you are everything, your wholeness, not conceptually, but again, I don't know what words to use. And the question that I would ask you, if you know that everything is part of you, you're part of everything, it's just all one, because it's just the energy field. If you knew that, then you knew that if you hurt someone, you must be hurting yourself, because you and the other someone is the same energy. So if you knew that, would you be capable to do something that at the core you know is gonna hurt you? See? If the right hand has a brain and the left hand has a little brain, and they believe that they're separate from each other, they may end up in a fight, but at some point they realize, man, every time I hit you, damn it, I'm feeling it. What's going on here? So I'm not hurting you, I'm hurting myself, because they both are part of the whole. Well, when this recognition comes in, this idea of owning anything and ownership immediately drops. Doesn't mean you cannot have things. Yeah, things can appear in your life. A car may appear in your life that may seem as if though you bought it, but you saw that that's just a transaction that is being taken care of in the world of appearances, but in the end it's not your car, it's not your house, it's not your wife or your husband, it's not your family, it's not even your body. You simply are, and that is all there is. And this is the love that we're pointing to here. Well, this is inspiration that came through this instrument. I hope it served. And as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can be extended.